Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to our regular meeting of council. With my feedback from my computer, there we go. For Tuesday, April 28th, 2026, it is 2:03 p.m. and I'll call this meeting to order. And I'd like to start with our traditional land acknowledgement that the town of Midland recognizes located on land which is traditional and treaty territory of the Anishinaabe people, now known as Chippewa Tri-Council, comprised of Beausoleil First Nation, Rama First Nation, and Georgina Island First Nation. This territory is within Pre-Confederation Treaty 5 and Treaty 16 and included in the Williams Treaties of 1923. Town of Midland recognizes is located on land which is traditional territory of the Huron-Wendat and their historic homeland of the Métis, and that our town is home to a large and diverse community of Indigenous people. I'd now like to deliver the following safety message. Should the fire alarm activate, please exit the room in an orderly fashion. Proceed to the evacuation assembly area, which is located in our upper parking lot. You may exit through the main entrance double glass doors, make an immediate left, proceed out the front doors, and through the secondary exit right back here behind Councillor Ball, up the stairs, check the door for heat before opening, and if it's safe, exit on the second floor, turn right, proceed out the front doors in front of you, or follow us. Washrooms are located on the second floor, and elevators located just outside the main entrance. As Midland has a respectful workplace policy, anyone exhibiting violent or harassing behavior will be asked to leave. Members of the audience are to maintain order and quiet, not to address council except the permission of the chair. All cell phones, pagers, and electronic devices are to be, anything that emits a sound basically, are to be turned off or set to non-audible. No person shall display signs or placards, applaud participants in debate, or engage in conversation, electronic or otherwise, or behave in a way that may disrupt the proceedings of council. For anyone requiring a hearing assist device, please advise the clerk and she will arrange with our IT staff to provide you with the device. Council meetings are recorded via Zoom and are posted on the town's YouTube site. Rogers TV Midland Channel 53 broadcasts and live streams one regular meeting of council per month. When more than one regular meeting is scheduled, the 2026 broadcast schedule is posted on the town's civic web portal. Council would, and everyone in attendance, would you join me in a moment of silent reflection before we get going on today's meeting? Thank you. All right, we're at section 6.1, our open forum. Open forum provides, this is the last one of this term, provides a 2-minute opportunity for the public to speak on an item on the regular council agenda. Details regarding the open forum can be found under section 9.5A of the town's procedure bylaw 2022-2. Individuals to sign the open forum register with the clerk prior to being permitted to speak, and council must be speak to council and must agree to follow the terms set out in the town's procedure bylaw. Open forum shall not last no longer than 10 minutes. As in total, as a general practice, the length of time each individual has addressed council shall be no longer than 2 minutes, and at the discretion of the mayor or chair. That being said, would either of our two attendees in the body like to address us? Step right up, fill out the form, and I will start when you filled your name out on the form. I'll start the clock.
Do you want me to fill it out now or after?
You may as well do it now. Won't be burning your time.
Thank you.
I got my quack notification set up here.
That scares me. The duck actually scares me.
It startles me too if I'm not looking at it. I really should have a goose sound, given the time of year that's approaching. Anyway, welcome, Ms. Teets, and
thank you. Good afternoon, council. I'm Yvonne Teets of Bay Street, Midland. My comments today focus on the town's Water Services Financial Plan CSR 2026-033. Council approved a $9.85 million rate-supported mayor's budget for 2026, including a 4% increase or just under $32 per year for a typical household. When residents are paying more, financial decisions must be based on complete and accurate information. The $18.37 million Headworks upgrade project is underway. 73% is funded through provincial grants, while the remaining 27% is financed through debt that will be repaid directly by wastewater user rates and development charges. This makes it essential that Midland maximize external funding and minimize borrowing to protect ratepayers. The province has consolidated major water infrastructure funding under the Municipal Housing Infrastructure Program with nearly 1.7 billion available to municipalities. These funds exist to reduce pressure on local ratepayers, and Midland must continue to pursue every eligible opportunity. However, the most serious issue is the town of Midland's financial reporting. Midland has not completed its 2024 and 2025 financial information returns, and the 2023 audited consolidated financials were only approved last council meeting, April 8th. The FIR is the mandatory audited report that shows true surpluses or deficits, reserve balances, debt levels, and actual versus budgeted spending. Despite this, the town is forecasting water and wastewater revenues, expenditures, reserves, and debt repayment all the way to 2035. A long-term financial plan cannot be credible when 2 last years of audited financials are incomplete. Without FIRs, neither council nor the public can determine whether the 4% rate increase was necessary, whether reserves are adequate, or whether debt financing is being overused. I'm asking council to commit to quarterly reporting on project spending, debt drawdowns, grant applications, and the status of overdue FIRs. Residents deserve decisions based on audited facts, not assumptions. A forecast built on missing FIRs is not a forecast, it's guesswork. Without audited financials for 2024 and 2025, the town cannot accurately project reserves, debt capacity, operating costs, or rate impacts. You cannot plan responsibly when you don't know your true financial position. Ratepayers deserve evidence, not assumptions. Thank you.
Thanks. Let you go over because I think you're my only one and it's the last one, but thank you. Unless there's another. Anyone else want to step up, avail themselves of the 2 minutes at the mic before we get going? Going once, going twice. Last one of the term. Okay. Council, any conflicts of interest in relation to today's agenda items? Seeing none, if one should arise, you know what to do. And, oh, sorry, thank you, Ms. Teets, for your words. I have a motion here moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost. The council receives information and confirm the direction provided in the confidential verbal report and update provided by the Chief Administrative Officer at the regular meeting of council closed session held on April 28th, 2026 with respect to an organizational update. Council, we heard discussion in camera. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Bald, seconded by Councillor Patel, that further to discussions held at the closed meeting of council on April 28th, 2026 regarding the 2025 Award of Merit recipients. Council, is it 2025 recipients? Yeah, okay. Council hearing confirms its direction to staff on how to proceed. We've had our discussion in camera. Council, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Reese, seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost, that the contents of the regular council meeting with closed session agenda for April 28th, 2026 be approved. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Next, moved by Councillor Ball, seconded by Councillor McDonald, that the items and related recommendations contained within the April 28th, 2026 consent agenda, as consent items having been considered by council, be adopted with the exception of the following 3 items. Item 10.4.1 CSR 2026-014 Legislative Overview Bill 60 Fighting Delays and Building Faster Act 2025. Item 10.4.5 CSR 2026-050 Town of Midland 2026 Harbor Opening Update. And item 10.4.7 CSR 2026-052 Pete Pedersen Boat Launch User Fees and Parking Bylaw Update, which will be considered under Section 17, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration, including presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. That being said, council, now's the opportunity to speak to or ask any quick questions for items that are on our consent agenda that we're about to pass, if you have any. Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Your Worship. Just wanted to comment on the CSR report 2026-053, the community grant program that Councillor Ball, Councillor East, and Councillor Major and myself were part of. And this year we've had many applicants. I think the total was 32. And of course we couldn't fulfill all of them, but some great local organizations were able to receive the grants needed to continue the work they do. So we're proud of all the work we done in the grant committee, even though, we have our differences, but, we get together and hash them out and make sure the rightful or the most deserving grant recipients of 2026 get the grants. So thank you. And then the mayor tournament is early this year and in May, and we're hoping to reach 50 or above. So we can say that we handed out 50 and plus. Thank you.
Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Just a comment in regards to the Water Services Financial Plan Report, number 10.4.2. The comments are that it's a living document. We're fiscally prudent, and the town continues to monitor the water operations that was within the report. And my other comment is in regards to the CSR 2026-049, the summary of Bill 98. I was dismayed to read that they're removing the requirement for climate change policies in that bill.
Yes, they believe it's a hoax, apparently. So the good news is our municipality, although we're governed by the province, we still have the ability to include climate change mitigation strategies in things under our direct influence and control. So all hope isn't lost, but it is sad when leadership at above levels seem to set that aside, much as they've done with things like the Endangered Species Act and whatnot. So don't get me started. Even though I take photo ops with the guy, I do let him know when there's dumb things coming down the pipe. We still have to do as we're told, but it is very frustrating. So your point is well placed, Councillor.
Keeps us awake at night. Just a comment.
All right, with that said, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right, next, Councillor Barrett is moving this one, seconded by Councillor Bald, that council resolve into the committee of the whole. All those in favor? Any opposed? Yeah. All right, Deputy Mayor, it's all yours.
Okay, we're starting today with a public meeting. I would like to call the public meeting to order. This public meeting is being held pursuant to sections 34 and 39 of the Planning Act to consider a zoning bylaw amendment for the property located at 475 Bayshore Drive, 165 King Street, 200 King Street, and 527 Len South Boulevard. In accordance with the Planning Act, a person that does not make an oral submission at the public meeting or does not make a written submission before the bylaw is passed or an approval is given will not be entitled to appeal the decision to the Ontario Land Tribunal and may not be added as a party to a hearing on an appeal of the tribunal unless, in the opinion of the tribunal, there are reasonable grounds to do so. The purpose of this public meeting is to present the proposed zoning bylaw amendment and to receive comments from the public. Council is not making a decision on the application or taking a position. Council will debate the merits of the application following the receipt of the staff recommendation report to be presented at a future council meeting. If you wish to be advised as to when the recommendation report will be put before council, or if you wish to be notified about council's decision, please contact the Planning Services Department at planning@midland.ca by no later than May 13th, 2026. I will now call Steve Farquharson, Executive Director, Community and Growth, to present the application and confirm that notice of public meeting has been issued as prescribed by the Planning Act. Staff will provide a presentation. So wouldn't it be the clerk confirming?
No.
Okay, go ahead.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. The notice for today's public meeting was mailed out to on April 7th, 2026 to all property owners within 120 meters of all three subject properties. Notice was also placed in a physical sign on all the properties as well. This meets our requirement under the Planning Act to give proper notice for this type of application. So the presentation will just come up on the screen here. So there's 3 properties in question for just with the addresses. So 475 Bayshore Drive, 165 and 200 King Street, and then 527 Len South Boulevard. So the intent of the application, as council's aware and the public's aware, we do have some pretty significant festivals that do occur within the municipality. And the idea was to, with some of these festivals, they do require staff to be on site overnight. So under the Planning Act, under section 34 and 39, you can pass what's called a temporary use bylaw. Now, what this temporary use bylaw does is it allows it to be there for a specified period of time. It's not there permanently. As council's aware, we are going to be developing our new zoning bylaw. And this is one thing that we are going to be looking at for council consideration if they do want to have it permanently allowed within the municipality. So what we would be doing is to look to permit the on-site operational and accommodation uses related to the special events on the lands. So on all 3 of those properties. So when you go to Ribfest down at the waterfront, there's last year we allowed it, but this year we want to make sure that it comes before council to make sure that it is recognized under the zoning bylaw. So what it's being used for is for office space for the people participating within the events, as well as staff breaks. So for example, for Ribfest, they have their smokers and everything going all night. They can't sit there. We don't think it's appropriate for them to have just a tent, an open-sided tent. So we would allow them, this would look to allow them to have a recreational vehicle there just for the night to make sure that staff have a place that they can rest, but also for office spaces, as well as for security. There's expensive equipment there for our festivals. We want to make sure that they have the appropriate security in place to monitor that, to make sure that they're not damaged. As well as for generators, if they got food and other types of inventory that could spoil if they're not kept cool as well. So on the screen, you'll see the 3 properties there. So the first one is, my glasses can't even see that far, is over at the Harborview Park. So the area that's circled in red is it's hatched, but that's where they would be centrally located. So anywhere there's a red circle, that's where it would be limited to. So it wouldn't be the entire property. So for example, if we look at the image on the right, which is the community center, there would be no accommodations there. That's where they would store any sort of operational equipment. So but it would be limited to that area. We felt if we located in that area, it would have minimal impact on the operations of the community center. So what we're proposing is that as part of this public meeting and proposal to council would be that they would be permitted for a 3-year time frame. After 3 years, if the zoning bylaw is not finalized, council can choose if they would like to extend it, or they can let it lapse and then it wouldn't be permitted anymore. But we're proposing 3 years on a realistic time frame on how long it takes for a zoning bylaw to get through their review process. 3 years, we feel that when this does come back up, should it get approved by council at a future date, we will have a better understanding of where our zoning bylaw is and if we're going to be allowing this type of use under the zoning bylaw as a permanent use. So the manager of community culture and tourism is here, as well as the manager of planning. If there's further questions, Ms. Midland can provide further justification in her discussions with the vendors at our festivals as to why this is needed. Thank you, council.
Thank you, Mr. Farquharson. I'll now open the meeting to comments from the public. If you wish to make a public comment, please step up to the podium and state your name and address for the public record. You will have a maximum of 5 minutes to speak. Do we have anybody who would like to speak to this? Okay, not seeing. Oh. You need your mic on. Oh, um. There you go. Can you please state your name and address for the record, please?
My name is Catherine Blake. One residence of my address is 347 Fifth Street. I have another property at 330 Curry Road. In regards to this, the gentleman mentioned he's considering over 3 years for you guys to consider. To me, 3 years, I don't think it would take that long for you to experience how it would affect 1 year of all the festivals going on with observation. Should be plenty of time. When you're speaking from my thoughts, is that it's mostly mobile homes or mobile trailers that you're going to be putting out on site. Is that correct? Is that the?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So yes, they would be recreational vehicles that would be located there. The staff are recommending a 3-year approval window. If after 1 year, if there's complaints and council wants to withdraw that, council at any time can withdraw the bylaw and not permit it. Just the 3 years, we don't have to come back here every year.
Okay,
That's why we're proposing the 3
okay,
years.
so the follow-up is after the first year.
Through,
That you could go to council and say, with your complaints, to reconsider not going for the full 3.
So through you, Deputy Mayor, after 1 year, if there is concerns from the public, they can come and bring them forward to staff, and then staff can then provide a report back to council if there's complaints. Yes.
Mm. I'm not sure I'm getting the full understanding of, you mentioned that you were going to have staff that was going to observe the safety and overseeing this site during festival season, correct?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I'm not sure I understand. Your staff would be following, like monitoring the safety of the festival. Is that what you're asking?
I thought I heard you say that there was going to be staff staying overnight in these compartments or these mobiles. Can you explain a little bit more of what that they'll be doing through the night?
So through you, Deputy Mayor. So it's not municipal staff, it would be event staff. So it would be, for example, at Ribfest, if one of the barbecuers there, they've got staff that have to keep an eye on their product overnight. It's their staff, it's not town staff. I apologize if I wasn't clear on that.
Right. So they will not be charged a fee of any sort to have that opportunity to be on that site 24/7 during the festival.
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So they would be charged through our application fee for the festival, which is $300.
Mhm.
But that's part of this process. If council wishes to provide direction to staff to charge a fee for overnight, then that's something that council can provide direction to staff to bring forward with a recommendation.
So don't take me wrong, I'm all for tourism and festivals and what have you. And I think the town of Midland has performed some very good ones in the past. But there are times where I think it's a little overkill in taking the beautification away from our sites. And I'm just picturing it a little bit, we're not talking a big space to begin with. Where these vendors set up. So I'm getting a little confused on why we would go that extra limit in adding more work, more chaos. Transporting those trailers or whatever form of accommodation that they're going to set up. I don't know how you can justify that it's worth it. If they could just simply stay in one of the Airbnbs or one of our hotels. Is it a revenue grab that you're thinking by them having to pay a fee? Is that one of the objectives of changing the procedures?
So through you, Deputy Mayor. So at this point in time, we have not considered if we're going to be charging a fee. So after today's meeting, we will go back and prepare a staff report. We're not, if it's only the initial application fee right now, it's right now we're not proposing to gain any other additional refunds, but it's an opportunity to provide an easier operation for those types of vendors that do come in, because some of the festivals do require 24 hours monitoring of their product. So while some festivals, yes, maybe they can stay in a local hotel or Airbnb or short-term rental, but on some of them like Ribfest, they do need to be on site.
So Ribfest is those vendors tend to travel through the province to different sites to celebrate their any feedback that any of the other communities giving this opportunity for them to was there a study made to compare whether other towns that accommodate these vendors for their festivals, if they've done any research on it?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, that will be part of the research when we come back. Is we'll look at some comparables to other festivals and how do they operate.
Okay, so when do you think that all that information would be collected?
Through you, Madam Chair, at a future council date. The festivals are going to be happening before we know it, so it will be probably a fairly quick turnaround to have this recommendation report forward to council.
Okay, I guess I'll wait and see what you come up with.
Yeah, and through you, Deputy Mayor, just as the Deputy Mayor indicated in the public meeting notes there, so please send an email to planning@midland.ca and then we'll be able to keep you informed about the application.
Okay, thank you for your time.
Okay, this will conclude our public meeting. As there are no further comments from the public regarding the zoning bylaw amendment, I will now call this public meeting to an end. I'm going to read the motion and then council can ask questions for clarification on this. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor Patel and Councillor Major. That staff report CSR 2026 048 temporary use bylaw public meeting, file number ZBA 01-26 for 475 Bayshore Drive, 527 Len South Boulevard, 165 and 200 King Street, dated April 28th, 2026, be received for information. Do we have any questions for clarification from council? Mayor Gordon.
Thank you. Just wondering why we wouldn't also consider a parking lot in Little Lake Park for this. If the plan is to put this in place an interim for 3 years, of course, subject to review by future councils, I mean, obviously we're going to do that. I think we'd have to have a new public meeting because this is the one for these locations. But I think it's reasonable to expect that if there is overnight accommodation for the vendors and participants, I don't mean guests, but like the people who are actually providing these festivals in these locations downtown, why wouldn't we also, carve out a parking lot at Little Lake Park with the assumption there's going to be a bigger events down at Little Lake Park where the whole traveling road show, all the roadies and all the people that typically drive around in their motorhomes all across Canada or Ontario running these festivals, they'd need someplace to park down there too. Because I guess they could park it up at the Len Self and, walk down into the Lake Park. That's not completely unreasonable, but I'm just wondering if he'd contemplated a spot down there or if the rec center was good enough. And secondly, because there's no services involved, like these people are all self-contained, they have their own generators and they bring their own water and sewage, of course, they can get rid of for free at our wastewater center. How are we going to identify authorized vehicles? You don't have to, as long as it's in the report, we need some way to clearly identify so that we don't have visitors, with campers showing up going, haha, this is the weekend where I can camp for free because we're going to look just like all the vendors for Ribfest or whatever fest. So there needs to be a clear way for bylaw enforcement to distinguish, they can't just be printed on a colored laser printer, that they're authorized to, park and as part of the festival. So I'm sure you've already contemplated that, but just a couple of observations and just questioning about Little Lake Park, because the anticipation is, as we've been investing so much money in building out the park and all of the amenities and hoping to host more activities there, would it make sense to, allow some of these participants of these events to park in the Lake Park, or would it be good enough just having them up at the Bourgeois Center?
Through you, Deputy Mayor. So we did initially contemplate Little Lake. The reason for limiting it to these three locations was that Ribfest, for example, it's not in Little Lake, so that's why like the festivals right now that are occurring in Little Lake don't need they're not like Ribfest where they have to have the trailers kind of on site 24/7 for their product. We did have it, so we wanted to provide Little Lake with an alternative, which is why we put it up in the parking lot of the community center. In Little Lake, if council wants that to be something we would consider in the future, then yeah, we would have to do a new public meeting to add those properties in. But that was the initial, was we didn't want it completely in the park at this point, because this is just a temporary use. We're just trialing it. Because if we do have issues with this as part of the rezoning, the new zoning bylaw when it comes forward, we may recommend that we don't proceed with it. But that was kind of the idea with festivals like Ribfest, where they need the overnight accommodations, and the ones that are in Little Lake, they don't require the overnight accommodations to be close by to their products. So that was kind of the rationale behind limiting it only to the parking lot area of the community center.
Councillor Meredith?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Just one question just to think of when we're drafting up this report. Should we be limiting the amount of staff that are on site monitoring the security and for their product and so forth? Because if you look at Ribfest, there's quite a few employees down there. So if they all are staff working, so if they all have campers, we want to kind of make sure we have control of the situation and they don't use that as, they all gather together. Then there's, after work, there might be, a few, being a little bit social around the campground. So how are we going to monitor that is a concern for me, if that even comes about. So limiting the amount of staff on site might be something we can look at. But again, I understand why this is here for the festivals that have equipment on site with no security. So I just want to make sure that when we go forward with this, we should limit the amount of people on site and campers on site, because you don't need 20 campers on site to make sure that everything's okay. So that's one concern, and I think maybe that's the concern that Ms. Blake had as well. Yeah, and as you said, it doesn't work out after. We'll soon find out after this year, anyways, if it goes well or we have to make some adjustments to the bylaw. But looking forward to the report, and thank you for this report as well. Thanks.
Councillor Patel?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So being in that industry, to Councillor Meredith's point, heads per bed would be kind of the idea. So they're not, there's 3 beds in the trailer and there's 15 people in the trailer, and then some sleeping on the roof or, pitching a tent. So maybe it would be wise to think in that direction. Thank you.
Counselor East.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. I mimic the same concerns from Councillor Meredith and Councillor Patel. When we had parking for the the carnival, it was actually over in the soft corner of Lily Lake Park by the dog runs. And that's where a bunch of the trailers were before. Now, I did notice when they stayed there, I believe it was 2 years ago, there was quite a bit of noise all night because they're all concentrated. Now, this is a carnival, obviously, so we're not talking about the same kind of situation as the Rib Fest, but it could end up being the same situation where we have to deal with the noise, the generators running all night, and the mess that they leave after they don't clean up after themselves. So just something to be a bit concerned about. I agree with him. There's, looking at the proposed sites, having some of the trailers over at the arena is a great, and limiting how many people are on site at Rib Fest would be a great idea, because if not, I think we would be heading into more of a situation of party noise.
Counselor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I look forward to the reviewing the bylaw when it comes to us, but I would like to see them considering charging the extra if we're providing accommodation. I think that's only fair.
Counselor Major.
Through you, Deputy Mayor, I think the 3 parking spots are enough. We don't need them in the park at all. Like, keep it to where it is, the Bourgeois Rec Center and the 2 places downtown, but we don't need them spread out into the park at all.
Seeing no further questions or comments from council. Council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? That's carried. Okay, moving along. Number 13, presentations. We have none. Integrity Commissioner recommendation report. We have none. 15, deputations petitions. We have none. 16, committee local board delegation or memo. We have none. 17, reports and other items withdrawn from the consent agenda for council's consideration includes presentations by consultants regarding a report under consideration. So it's CSR 2026 052 Pete Pedersen boat launch user fees and parking bylaw update. I'm going to read the motion and have a mover and seconder, and then we can discuss it. The staff report CSR 2026 052 Pete Pedersen boat launch user fees and parking bylaw update be received, and that council approve the proposed fees as listed in option 1 of the staff report CSR 2026 052, and that council directs staff to update the signage at the boat launch to accurately reflect how to obtain a permit, and that council directs staff to update signage at the harbor parking lot to include signs including overnight parking, and that the implementing bylaw as shown in attachment 3 of the staff report CSR 2026 052 be passed and enacted. That the amending bylaw as shown in attachment number 4 be passed and enacted. So could I have a mover and a seconder, please, to put this on the floor? Councillor East and Councillor Ball. Okay, any comments or questions from council? Mayor Gordon.
Councilor Meredith is busy on his screen, but he and I had a conversation earlier, so I think there was an amendment that he would like to introduce. So maybe I'm just lob it over to you. I don't want to steal your thunder. Is it not the overnight parking number 3? Overnight parking for up to 7 days in the downtown parking lots with the exception of lot 9 for the seasonal marina parking permit? Oh, I have the right one open? Okay, all right, just make sure we're all on the same page. Yeah, so I think it was number 3 that, anyway, I'll let you take, no stealing your thunder, go nuts. I support it, and we can put an amendment on the floor after we've had a conversation about it.
Yeah, thank you. I think I pulled both. Thank you, Mayor Gordon, and through Deputy Mayor. Yeah, I pulled both the reports, the Harbor and the P. Peterson Park. It kind of the Harbor kind of touches on this one. Well, it's regarded with the overnight parking. So just wondering why staff wouldn't consider that, if you're a marina, harbor, slip, seasonal dock slip purchaser, why they would limit the parking to 7 days versus park is like unlimited for the season. We have marinas all around us that you can park there. As long as you have a slip, then you're fine to park there. There's no limitation. So just wondering why there's a limitation here for our harbor slip owners.
Through you to, through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Emeritus, the reason we have put a cap on that is we don't want to run into a situation where slip owners essentially are using municipal property as their private parking. So if we have unlimited usage where these slip owners can park at the harbor, park at any other lot for an unlimited time, who's to stop them from having them and a bunch of friends park in one of our lots and stay there at the cottage for say 2 months and leave their cars in our parking lot for 2 months unattended whatsoever, not being looked at. They take up public parking through the week. So that's the reason why we're putting a cap on it. There needs to be some sort of cap on this to still create turnover in some of the lots, because we don't have a bona fide marina parking lot in the town, and every parking lot is available to every member of the public. So I don't feel it's appropriate that the slip owners be given carte blanche to park in any of our lots for an unlimited period of time. There needs to be a cap on that. That's just my opinion.
Thank you. Can I respond to that? And I'm taking your concern. I understand your concerns. The problem is where our marina, if we want to operate as a marina, we're at 64%, 36%, 64% full right now. So, and in the past, when this report came out, I had 3 phone calls right off the hop saying, I wish I had known this, because they were under the impression that everything was going to stay status quo, have overnight parking, and yet, they were going to move to Bayport. Now they can't move to Bayport because they've called. They're full, so they're stuck at Midland for another year. We've had slip owners there for 40 years, right? I actually drove one home from the island yesterday, and they said they've been there for 40 years. And we've been flip-flopping over the harbor marina. There's different rules, different terms and different years. I don't agree with what you're saying. If you want to be a marina and you want to be in this business, and that's what it is, it's a business. We're taking money in. We're doing our repairs with the income we come in. We pay our staff. It should be treated like a marina. And every marina you have, you don't put a limitation on it. And it's one car per slip. It's not a bunch of cars. It's one car. And they should have, if it's, how many slips do we have in here? We have, in my notes, 77, total of 77 slips that I see here. 48 non-power and 29 powered slips. So if 77 slips get taken up by our paying people that are supporting the town and the harbor, then so be it. And if someone else wants to park and they can't find a parking spot in our harbor, we have a lot of municipal lots. We are blessed with our parking, I think, in our community. You go to other communities, they don't have the back lots like we do. So I totally disagree. I think we have to, you know, our boaters, our harbor front boat seasonal slip owners should have precedence over any slip. And they don't really have, you know, if they come to the harbor and it's full, they have to go elsewhere in lot 2 and 8. So they're not guaranteed a slip, but if they're there and if they want to be at their cottage for 2 weeks or on Bosley Island or on Honeymoon Bay or wherever, they shouldn't have to worry about their car. So that is, unless we want to see our percentage drop at the harbor, we just keep on going down the same path. But we have to make sure that right now that we don't flip-flop and the rules change with every term and so forth. They want consistency and they won't have to worry about this, because I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to be going from 64% down to 60, and we'll be down to 50 in no time. Just keep on doing what we're doing, because I have, you know, witnessed this for the last 4 years. Prior to that, me being on the seat, there's always been an issue with harbor parking and our boaters, and we should treat our boaters firstly, and then the public second. Thank you.
Counselor Major and then Counselor Ball.
So I don't agree with that either. Like if I rent a cottage for 2 weeks, but I don't have a boat, but the cottage is on an island. So at the end of the first week, I got to get the owner of the cottage, pick me up, drive me down the dock and move my vehicle, and then park it again, and then go back up for the second week. Like, it doesn't even make sense to me. And the other thing too is you want to do whatever you're doing down there, yet when Butter Tart Festival comes and I paid, or someone's paid dockage for the whole year, and it's like, oh, well, you can park up at Norman's Garden Center or wherever the hell you want that day because you don't have a spot down here, but you paid to have your boat in the water. So, and no one's coming down there with 5 cars going somewhere for 2 weeks. Like, I don't support this at all. I'm backing Councillor Meredith the whole way.
Go ahead.
Sorry, just a quick correction. The analogy you used about someone renting a cottage and getting picked up, that person doesn't qualify for 7 days. They would be the 72 hours at every resident. The 7-day thing that we're talking about right now is in relation to people who rent a slip at our marina. So somebody who doesn't rent a slip at our marina but wants to go somewhere on a boat for X amount of time, it doesn't fit into this classification. Just for clarity's sake, because people are listening and maybe getting confused.
Then he said about people coming down for going somewhere with 5 different cars. Well, he didn't mention that they owned it. They said someone goes, what'd you say? Well, people going with 5 cars somewhere.
Through the chair, I said that it would be a marina slip owner with their friends coming down with 5 different cars. It's a bit of a difference, but I see your point.
Counselor Ball, then Counselor East.
Thank you. Did I imagine that there was I thought I read that only 1 permit would be given to each slip, or did I just imagine that as a great idea as I read through it? Because I thought that I had read that it was 1 per slip. So then that would negate any other cars staying there, because we would only have 1 permit for 1 slip.
Through the chair, I believe there's a bit of confusion in regards to the permits. There's going to be a difference between boat launch permits and marina permits. So the boat launch permit, from my understanding and the way I've understood it, is that there's going to be 1 permit for, if depending on what council decides today, it would be 1 permit per vehicle for the annual passes, the residents that are free, and same with the non-annual. I will let Dana and Dave speak to the harbor on how they're going to operate the marina permits. But one thing I do want to clarify as well with these overnight provisions, these are mainly done on complaint. And I can safely say that last year we had 2 complaints at the harbor for overnight parking, both for vehicles that were not related to any of the marina slip owners. So with the 7-day limitation, if we do get a complaint, I'm not expecting bylaw enforcement staff to be going down to the harbor lot every single day and stemming tires. That's just out of the question. It would take way too much staff time that could be better utilized elsewhere. So the only time we're ever really going to be enforcing this is on complaint. And typically at the harbor, the only people that do complain are the harbor staff to notify us to say, hey, there's some vehicle that's here. We don't recognize it. Can you come and stem the tires and do our thing? That's where we're looking at as far as enforcement goes. So we're not going down and stemming tires every single day, if that makes anybody feel any better. But that's not part of the enforcement practice. This is going to be an on-complaint basis only.
So I'm for the unlimited amount for one slip, one parking pass per slip. So I was reading that as a general, that it was going to be across both parking lots, that we would have one permit. So I'm for that, one permit per slip, unlimited use for this season for one car.
Counselor East.
Thank you, through you, Deputy Mayor. First, I wanted to thank you, Rob. You did a really good job on this report and the ideas that are coming forth. I'm going to agree with everybody else that we're missing the mark on the parking. One slip, one parking spots makes sense. Now, the thing is that if we're going to run a marina and be in business, then we should be in business to take care of our customers, right? So, hearing what everybody's reflecting, the truth is that a 7-day limit really exposes our customers to trouble, right? And the thing is that if you go to any other marina and you're paying, say $2,000, $3,000 a year, you expect to be able to park there. You expect to be able to go wherever you want for those couple of weeks. And a lot of times those trips end up being way over a week, Even for myself, when I go to a cottage, I don't go for 7 days. I go for 9 or 10 or as long as they'll let me, right? So we really need to look at it as a business proposition instead of limiting. So, Meredith is right when he says that we're going to lose more and more boaters, right? Because we're not keeping it convenient. And just like with any other business, and I've said it many, many times, you have a negative touch point. You keep creating that negative touch point, they're going to find somewhere else to go. It's no different than my business, right? You go into my store, I have a really ugly stairway when you come in, but I need to figure out a way to make my clients feel good that they want to come back. So if they know that they have the stress and the weight on their minds that I got to come back on that 7th day, but the weather's great for the next 4, we don't want to limit them. We want to keep that business growing. And we really should be looking at our harbor front as a business, right? We should even be looking at maybe a section of that downtown parking lot, limiting it to the parking spots for that marina. Like, I know that it sounds a bit far-fetched, but coming back a little bit closer, you have 20 spots or 70 spots that are for those customers and they can park within that area. I'm just throwing out ideas that we can make this more convenient for our customers, because if you're hearing what they're saying, we're going to lose customers and we need to run it as a business, but we need to keep it as a positive touch point every single time that they come to Midland. Because the thing is that if we keep growing this properly, we'll have that marina full with customers that have never been to Midland. And that expands to more than just the marina. It goes all the way to every store, every owner, every person that has an employee, it feeds them. So we need to figure out ways to keep this expanding. So once again, I thank you for the hard work on it. You just really missed the mark on that 7 days. Okay. And I'm in agreement with everybody else on this one. I think it's important that we run it as a business.
Counselor McDonald.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor Prost. So there's 77 slips. That means we would need to provide 77 parking spots, not necessarily at the, I'm asking for clarification, not necessarily at the town dock, but through other parking lots. Is that correct?
Through the chair, sorry, you're going to have to repeat that question. I was a little sidetracked.
That's all right. Councillor Meredith answered it for me. I understand that 77 slip owners, if they're all sold, will be able to park their vehicle, one vehicle, which is included in the cost of the slip at any parking lot in Midland for free, whether you're a resident of Midland or Perkinsfield. Is that the way the bylaw reads now?
Through the chair, the proposed bylaw reads for slip owners, they would be permitted, at this point, it's written for a 7-day maximum that they would be allowed to be in the harbor lot, lot 2 and lot 8 for the 7-day. We've excluded lot 9 because that's where the farmer's market is, and we don't want to run into situations where someone's parked in that lot on the Sunday and causing issues there. And it doesn't necessarily make any sense to do the bigger lots, lot 1 or 6. I don't imagine any marina or slip owners going to go all the way up there to park. Remains to be seen, but the way it's written now is lot 2, lot 8, and the harbor lot marina owner or slip owners would be allowed to park up to 7 days in those 3 lots. The general public would be allowed to park in the harbor lot only and over at P. Peterson for 72 hours.
The general public. Okay. Non-slip owners. So out of the, how many parking spots do we have just in the town dock? So what percentage would the 77, if all slip owners park their vehicle downtown, what percentage of that would be for the downtown dock parking?
Through the chair, just stand by 1 sec. Through the chair, currently the harbor lot can accommodate 160 parking spaces, with 6 of them being accessible parking spaces. So if you had 77 people down there all at once, which I don't imagine would ever happen, you're looking at roughly the half of the lot would be utilized by slip owners.
Thank you.
Councillor Meredith, then Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. Yeah, just going back to some of the comments you made about enforcing the bylaw. I'd feel a lot more comfortable if the bylaw was written up that we're not going to just on complaints, but the bylaw has to be in ink, because I'm not going to go on staff's word that they're not, we only go operate on complaints. Last year, I dealt with 2 tickets that cottagers got tickets while they were overnight parking. So they've been there for decades. So if the harbor master didn't know them and the staff didn't know them down there, then you got to have the customer service and know who your slip owners are, especially when we have owners that have been supporting the town of Midland and the harbor for 20, 30 years. So that's one. So I don't buy that we only go on complaints. And we dealt with some of those overnight in Peterson Park, but that's not my concern right now. My concern is the harbor and how we run it. And as far as I'm concerned is and I'll say it again, if we want to be in this business, then and have a harbor, then we have to look for our slip owners and be out for them first. So I want to make sure that we get this on paper. I don't want to have any sway on how we're going to do this. You say it's on as I said on complaint based, but we were wasting a lot of time on a simple solution, and we have free parking right now in all of downtown Midland, and we don't have a problem at our harbor, whether they're there for 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, 10 days, 20 days. We haven't had any complaints or problems. So the free parking is working well. The harbor parking lot is busy in the on the weekends, probably at capacity. And if someone that's at the marina has a boat, if they get there too late on a Sunday, they won't find a parking spot, so they'll have to go to utilize lot 2 and 8, and they know that, and they're fine with it. Just have consistency and don't limit their time. And that's the fair thing to do for a paying customer in the harbor service industry. Thank you.
Okay, I have three more quick follow-ups, and then I'm going to go back to Councillor Emeritus. I can't remember who was first, Councillor Patel and Councillor McDonald, and then Councillor Major, and then back to you.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Pro. So just to comment on what we've been discussing, keeping it simple, if you're a slip owner, I guess, I don't know if you're called an owner, I guess, seasonal slip tenant, providing them with a seasonal permit as well in the lots discussed, 2-8 and the harbor, is not a bad idea, because they could be from out of town. They could be gone for 2 weeks on their boat and their vehicle is there. Providing them with a simple permit, just one permit, 2 plates on the permit. So let's say they bring in their pickup truck to launch the boat and get their gear in, and they're using a electric vehicle or a fuel efficient vehicle to go back and forth. That wouldn't put them at a disadvantage, but providing them with just one permit and allowing them to use the 3 lots in question, I don't think it would harm in terms of, our parking spot availability in town, because we have plenty. We have probably over 300 or 600, I don't know. And it would make the bylaws job easier because they can focus on other things and not worry about this 7-day thing. So again, I would highly recommend that we bring in the seasonal permits. Thank you.
Go ahead.
Hi, through your chair. We have worked with Mr. Kennedy a bit, and I think we can work with him a little further to that point to potentially set aside the slip owners to have a plate number with us tracked at the harbor office, where we'd be able to accommodate that. And then that way bylaw would have a record of who's there. So we could accommodate the slip holders, sort of having the unlimited spots. And I think we could definitely work with Mr. Kennedy for that. We have worked towards that a bit so far. We just haven't gotten to that point.
Thank you. Councillor McDonald.
Thank you. Deputy Mayor Prost, I neglected to refer to my notes and ask the question, do we have visitor slips at all, or are all the slips being sold?
Through your chair, there's transient slips. So there's 9 set aside transient slips for the boaters. And then any slips that are not being used for seasonal slips are also available for transient for visitors.
Thank you.
Councillor Major.
Your Deputy Mayor. I got to bring up my favorite one. So the 4 parking spots at the dock. I think you guys know where I'm going with this, for plug-ins, and they don't work. There's no signage on, say they don't work. So if you roll into Midland, you want to plug your lightning in, and you can't. And if they're not, so by the time Butter Tart Festival comes and they're not operating, so what's bylaw going to do? Like there's 4 parking spots that should be fair game for anyone that wants to use them that Saturday, because they're not going to be running till sometime May or June. And you go down there, there's not signage saying they don't work. And that's 4 waste, like Councilor Meredith said, keeps telling me that's 4 wasted parking spots.
Go ahead.
Point of order, Madam Chair. This has nothing to do with the slips.
Go ahead.
Through the chair to Councillor Major. Regarding the parking, we are in contract with that that company a long-term contract, as you know, but we have had signage put up. There is signage there. It's updated on their website and on their app. And they are still working with NT Power to get something in place. So as we get updates, we'll provide them to council.
But can anyone use the parking spots when they're not working?
Can I call a point of order? This is not what we're talking about right now. So if we could go back to it's just the harbor parking, and then we can, discuss the EV part at another part of the, I think it's already been discussed anyways, and but you can definitely reach out to staff behind the scenes and get more information. But I know we discussed it, Howie, or sorry, Councillor Major. But let's get back to the parking at for the harbor. Thank you.
Okay, Councillor Meredith, we're back to you for the parking.
So I'd like to make an amendment to the bylaw here so that seasonal slip owners have unlimited parking, one parking spot and a per vehicle, but two licenses per one spot. So like Mr. Brissett has said, you're working with bylaw, so it would be one seasonal slip gets one parking spot if it's available whatever lot, and have two license plates attributed to that one spot.
Through the chair, I'm open to amending however council pleases. I would just caution that the two license plates per slip, that would be impossible for our staff to track while we're out in the field. I would suggest if we're doing that, the slip owners would be allowed, if you want to have two license plates, then you provide two stickers or something physical that our staff would be able to see if we do for whatever reason get a complaint for the vehicle. If we can see a sticker in the windshield, we keep on moving. So something like that. I would also just like to clarify, are we, if this amendment does go through, are we specifying each lot, or are we saying every single lot downtown for this? And again, I do want to caution, lot 9 is for the farmers market, so I feel like we should most likely exclude that lot from this amendment and keep it as we have it written, that they're not permitted there. But if you want to open it to every single lot, I would have to go and change the one schedule to qualify all those lots for unlimited parking for the slip owners. So I just want to make sure that what I'm going to amend in the bylaws is accurate to what council wishes.
Thank you. Yeah, and I can add to that. So you have already indicated lot 2 and 8 for the seasonal slip owners. So that would be the overflow. The license plate lanyard that the rear view, whether it's in the rear mirror hanging, they would be, you'd have the information where they can park on that lanyard, on that piece, and that can be transferred to each vehicle, but there'll be two license plates on it, large enough so a bylaw officer can see that, and then you should have a double, and then Harbor should have a list of those license plates as well as bylaw, and then it's all right in front of you. You have the information, so it wouldn't be hard, but there would be, as Councillor Patel, I believe it was Patel, stated that you may come down with a load of groceries and products in your boat with the truck, and then you take the lanyard or whatever that piece of paper is, and then bring your other vehicle down to park. So that would be the two license plates, but it's one spot per two vehicles, up to two vehicles. And after that, if that license plate doesn't match up with that the information on the lanyard, then they get a ticket.
Councillor Patel.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. The reason I was saying having the license plate idea is so they can't give it to a third party if you had no plates and just a sticker. So it's designated for the boat owners and the vehicles that they want to use for the boat slips. That was my reasoning. I understand what staff is saying. Maybe it might be hard, but if it's possible, that would be the best practice to go with. But if it's not possible, then a simple lanyards with no plate. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks, I agree. It's relatively simple. It's a serialized thing we issue. It could be something we produce at the town. We have plastic card machine, I think still. There's things we can do to make this difficult to counterfeit. And there could be a list of, 3, 4 potential license plates, however many the family happens to own. And only this device or this card or whatever it is can only physically be in one vehicle at a time. And the list of valid plates that it qualifies for would be on it. Would also be maintained at the issuer, which is probably the harbor, and could be part of their seasonal contract. I mean, when I fill my contract out for my motorhome or my trailer in a campground, I got to type in all the license plates that may show up at the park. So I got more than one. And so I got to type them all in so the park always knows. But they still only give me one gate pass. So it's up to me to pass the pass into the right vehicle. And I've arrived there a few times and didn't have it, so I had to go to the office. So this is all very doable. We're not reinventing the wheel. It should be one vehicle space, parking space per rented slip. You can have multiple vehicles, but only one can be parked down there free, to use this permit at a time. And I'm sure staff can figure this out. We don't need to solution this for you. It's not rocket science. We got ways to track it. And if somebody tries to game the system, it should be really obvious. Might be a little investigating to do, but then, we jam them with a really substantial fine. So it's the last time they play that game. I agree. We are running this marina as a business. We need to. We've quasi been doing it in the past, but we've been rather unsuccessful. If you look at the revenues that it's generated and the general sense of dissatisfaction and confusion amongst our customers, it's a great way to lose customers, is to keep them guessing and confused. So I do support, let's try this, removing the 7-day limit. Let's make sure there's a clear, easily identified pass that identifies the vehicles that are qualified to park in all the lots except the one where we have the farmer's market. And you know what, next term, if this turns out to be a mistake, then that council can remedy that mistake. But I really think we're finally on the right track. We're investing so much money at the marina, the upgrades, the electrical system, the new docks, new management, new security approach. So we decided to continue the overnight security, which is giving everyone a peace of mind. That's something you don't get at Bayport and other places. They do have a security guy, but it's not the same as a small venue like we have, where the security guy can actually see all the slips from his vantage point or her vantage point. So I think we're evolving, we're maturing, we're running this place like a business. It may actually break even one day. Wouldn't that be lovely? Perhaps even turn a profit. But on our path there, we got to make sure we treat our customers like gold and give them certainty. So while I can see the potential pitfalls of eliminating the 7-day limit, I think that the juice here might be worth the squeeze. Let's give it a try. Staff can come up with a way to manage the enforcement and the authorization. And so I'd support this amendment that has yet to be read in or formalized, but I'll let Councillor Meritus move it when he's ready, if we're done discussing it. But just wanted to weigh in, and looks like Mr. Kennedy's got something to say. So if it's in response to me, let her rip.
Through the chair again, just to clarify, as it's written, from what I understand, we want all lots except lot 9. Is council still? Do you want it as the season of May 1st to October 31st still, or are we doing it all year? I guess just to clarify, so it's written correctly. That's all.
Yeah, it's the duration of the seasonal boat slip owners. So it's May to October. Yeah. That's when it's in.
Okay. Just to clarify, outside of that time frame, if someone parks there and it's longer than whatever, they would be liable to be ticketed. I just want to clarify that.
Yes, and I believe that after October 31st, that all the boats are out of the marina. Like when the boats are out of the marina, whatever that time frame is, you don't see a boat, then there's no reason to have a slip or a pass. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So we're going to do that amendment, but I also have some other questions on this bylaw as well. So not sure what you want to do first, Madam Clerk.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Meritus, were you wanting to present this amending motion at the moment?
Probably not, because I have to discuss another issue with this bylaw. Okay. Thank you.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I believe we're just overcomplicating this. I don't think we need license plates at all. You have one lanyard, you have one pass. if you have a rental car, if you have to get a new car throughout the season, if you decide that you are the owner, but your friend is going to drive down with you, like I don't see the point of assigning license plates. The only one spot can be taken by one pass. So it really doesn't complicate anything to add on these license plates aside from to our bylaw staff who have to double check the license plate. Like one pass, one spot, it doesn't really matter what car's in that spot. It's either they're in there or not. So we're hoping that the people that are using them are going to be the marina owners. Obviously, if you see a problem where it's a person coming that's not part of our marina, then that would be a complaint basis. And you'd be able to tell that easily based off of who owns slips there. So I think that if you have a pass, it's in one spot regardless of what car's sitting there.
Okay, so we're not going to deal with an amendment to this right now. Okay. Go ahead, Councillor Emeritus.
Thank you. One other, when I was going through the bylaw, the actual bylaw under prohibitions, 17.5 stuck out to me because I had a problem with this last summer. And it reads, if a parking space has been designated by lines painted on the surface of the municipal parking lot, no person shall park any vehicle in such a manner that it is not wholly, the keyword wholly, is within the area designated as the parking lot space. So this one to me is the word wholly is, I don't like that word, because if you're not wholly between the lines, if you're on the line, you're subject to a ticket. Problem with that is if one car is too close to the painted line, and then you have a truck coming in that needs more space because the one vehicle is encroached over a little bit more, not totally centered in the space. Then if the tire touches a line, which I think is absurd, but anyways, it happened last year, that there was tires on a line and they got a ticket. I have the pictures, I have the pictures. I sent them to bylaw, and I think it was dealt with, and it was discarded. But still, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of fires I have to put out, a lot of things that we have to bring to staff that are unnecessary. So that should be a kind of determination by the bylaw officer. In my mind, that picture was like, shake my head at it, but they got a ticket. So how do we get away from that? That would be the question, and maybe take that word wholly out of the, not wholly, H-O-L-Y, but wholly with a W. How do we get that out of the bylaw? Thank you.
Through the chair to Councillor Emeritus, I'm familiar with the situation that happened last year, and I would agree. I actually shook my head once I saw the photos as well. So the officer that did write the ticket, that was a seasonal officer. They were spoken to after the ticket was issued, and once I was notified of the ticket, and it was promptly canceled. So I would suggest it was just an error in discretion on the officer's part in that situation. They were educated on proper discretion within that section, and I would assure you that no other officer that we have is going to be ticketing someone in that situation. I think the intent of that section is essentially if people are parked and they've double parked into two parking spaces, you can clearly identify that. That's where they're going to be ticketed within that section. I would say that situation you're talking about, speaking of, is a one-off.
And thank you. And I can accept that, whether it's, they need more training or so forth. But I'm glad that we can all agree that if that should happen this summer, that without question, little time spent on it, that our bylaw department will deal with it. And I'm good with that.
And through the chair, just to point out, that's the entire reason we started the early resolution process through the bylaw department, is for situations exactly like this. So we've had a few here and there where I've deemed that it wasn't necessarily a good ticket to write. And I've promptly canceled that as someone's put in an early resolution. So I just did one right before I got down here. So.
Great, thank you. And then before I put my amendment in, I'd like to tackle one other thing with the parking. Thank you. Do that now. So this has to do with the way we I did ask for a breakdown of finances, and this is more of a financial aspect of the parking. Is this the time to bring that up? I believe it would be. So harbor parking versus P. Peterson Park is the financial part of it, the end of it. So I had asked for a report on the finances from Harbor and P. Peterson Park, just to get some background. I know CAO Bun wants to interrupt here, so I'm gonna let her speak. Thank you.
Through the Deputy Mayor to Councillor Emeritus, I believe that would be part of the Harbor report that is coming up, so we can chat about that then.
Great, thank you. And I was I have these two reports kind of intermingled, so that's why I was questioning whether I was going to do it here or I didn't want to miss the opportunity. So I will put my amending motion in now. So did you want me to kind of spell it out? So the amending motions for the harbor. Oh, go ahead, Madam Clerk.
Through Deputy Mayor to Councillor Emeritus, I've drafted an amending motion, but I would request maybe a 5-minute recess just to make sure that I capture the appropriate information, if council's okay with that.
Perfectly fine.
Motion on the floor. Welcome back. I have a motion on the floor. It's moved by Councillor Emeritus and seconded by Councillor Ball. That Schedule E to the parking bylaw be amended to remove the restriction to parking at the Midland Harbor of 168 consecutive, or of 168 consecutive hours, 7 days with a valid harbor parking permit, and that seasonal slip owners be permitted to park for free at the Midland Harbor in all municipal lots with the exception of lot number 9, and that the appropriate identification be displayed in the vehicles that are qualified for these permits, and that Schedule E to the parking bylaw be amended to reflect these changes. All in favor? That's carried unanimously. Okay, so now I have the amended. So thank you. Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor East and Councillor Major. That staff report CSR 2026-052 Pete Pedersen boat launch user fees and parking bylaw update be received, and that council approve the proposed fees as listed in option 1 of staff report CSR 2026-052, and that council directs staff to update the signage at the boat launch to accurately reflect how to obtain a permit, and that council directs staff to update signage at the harbor parking lot to include signs regarding overnight parking, and that the implementing bylaw as shown in attachment number 3 of staff report CSR 2026-052 be passed and enacted, and that the following, that the amending bylaw as shown in attachment 4 be passed and enacted to include the following: that Schedule E of the parking bylaw be amended to remove the restriction of parking at the Midland Harbor of 168 consecutive hours, 7 days with a valid harbor parking permit, and that seasonal slip owners be permitted to park for free at the Midland Harbor and all municipal lots with the exception of lot number 9, and that the appropriate identification be displayed in the vehicles that are qualified for these permits, and that Schedule E to the parking bylaw be amended to reflect the changes. So we've already had discussion. Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. So there's other stuff in this, what was just read in that we haven't really talked about yet, but I just wanted to formally speak about part of this option one, which removes the cost of boat launching for Midland residents. And it also, by virtue of that, negates the, the free boat launch that we, for the past 3 years, have afforded Indigenous, First Nation, Métis, and Inuit residents of Midland to use that boat launch. So that becomes effectively null and void because they need to be residents of Midland anyway, and we're proposing we do this to all residents. So I wanted to thank basically all of our boating community that paid for passes diligently, followed the rules, and used the boat launch for the past 3 years, and have helped fund the upgrades that you're all enjoying down there. And although it didn't pay for all of the upgrades, it certainly took a big chunk of it out of the general taxation. And so for that, I want to thank you for participating in that. This is a bit of a gift because this is a walk back of that for our residents, so that effectively it's coming out of everyone's property taxes, whether you use it or not, just like sports and rec and other amenities, playgrounds and things that, folks may have no use for, but still pay for. This is adding it back into that pool. So I just wanted to address the fact that the rationale for making those fees collectible to funnel directly into the harbor expenses into that GL in our system and to help pay for the upgrades is greatly appreciated by myself and I believe my fellow councillors. For that, we thank you. And, I think online I equated to a warm hug we're giving you back. It isn't lost on me that this is an election year, and I don't want to not say that because it is. But that isn't the motivating factor, at least from my perspective in this. It's that we tried something, it worked reasonably well. We lack the ability to really police it to the degree that it would need 100% enforcement. We're still going to have enforcement for our non-resident folks that we expect to continue paying for their access to use this taxpayer-funded facility. And so enforcement will continue, but that residents are going to resume with the pass displayed the ability to launch their boats and now park, which was a bit of an oversight, the overnight parking. So we're lessons learned over the past few years. We're cleaning up the language in the bylaw. You've heard us have some, good, healthy debate about some of the issues around the harbor parking. But I just wanted to call out the fact that the finances that did come in, the 28,000 or so a year from our residents that were helping to fund the upgrades to the boat launch itself, warmly appreciated by this council. And I believe every other ratepayer who doesn't use it should also be grateful for that money. And there may come a time where we may have to revisit this, depending on the capital costs and our ability to get funding from the province and other places. But that time is not today, and it's not for this coming season. So please enjoy this and accept my heartfelt thanks for helping us over the past few years.
Seeing no more comments from council, I will call the question. All in favor? That's carried. Unanimous. Okay, moving forward to 17.2 CSR 2026-50 Town of Midland 2026 Harbor Opening Date Update. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor East and Councillor Bald. Can I put you down for a seconder? Oh. Okay. That staff report CSR 2026-050 Town of Midland 2026 Harbor Opening Update dated April 28th, 2026 be received, and that council approve 1 in and 1 out boat launch pass for seasonal dockage customers for 2026. Do we have any questions or comments on this? Councillor Meredith.
Thank you. Now, would that apply? I guess that wouldn't apply for our residents, but it would apply for non-residents that one in, one out, because now it's going to be free. So that is fine by me. I just wanted to comment on another section of the harbor report. So, and I could do that now. Thank you. So thank you for the report and the update and the improvements as I read through the report. It's looking like we maintained, we're a little bit down from last year, I believe, with our seasonal dockage customers right now. So we're down to 64% customers. So the concerning number to me is the 36% that we have vacant right now. So with that, I did mention before about PWC's personal watercrafts, if we're going to explore possibly getting to fill the void of our slips to get some more revenues in there and compete and be, just under the competitive advantage of our neighboring marinas. So I just wanted to see if we're looking into that for additional revenues, and then to fill up that dock space. I know it's still early in the season, but hopefully we're putting some thought into that. If it's not this year, possibly next year.
Through the chair to Councillor Meredith, the 64% is wrong now too. We've added one more seasonal slip since then. And yes, we've already put thought into the PWC. I was actually supposed to meet with a gentleman today who's done our other docks. And right now we're looking at the southeast shore wall. There's an opening there. So we're investigating the potential of adding floating ramps for the Sea-Doos there. We will investigate the rest of it too, whether any of the design changes to accommodate it, but it is something we're looking into. Budget pricing isn't there to do it this year, but it would be something that'll come forward in next year's budget.
Okay, and thank you. And would we after those floating Sea-Doo PW the watercraft, can we not utilize some of the fingers right now for personal watercrafts, or is that not in question? It'll save us costs and budgetary, so we don't have to spend the money on these floating, because I think they're about $3,000 or $4,000 a piece. They're not cheap. So I was just thinking for the current status of our of the slips, and if we have some available, would that be an option for this year?
Through chair to Council Maris, yes, it would. It hasn't been something that's been requested yet. I don't own a personal watercraft, but I think most people like to have them out of the water. So I'm assuming that's why we haven't had that request at this time, because we don't have the option of pulling them out. But it is definitely something we would entertain.
Okay, thank you. And then if someone were to, not mind having it in the water, would you guys just act on that, or would that have to come back to council, or can the harbor just go with filling like finger slips with the Sea-Doos?
It would be based by the foot. We have the prices are set based on length, so they could pay that way.
Great, thank you.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion. All in favor? Opposed? Okay, moving on to 17.3. CSR 2026-014 Legislative Overview Bill 60, Fighting Delays Building Faster Act 2025. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Councillor McDonald and Councillor East. That staff report CSR 2026-014 Legislative Overview, Bill 60, Fighting Delays, Building Faster Act 2025 dated April 28th, 2026 be received for information. Do we have any comments or questions on this? Councillor McDonald.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor Prost. I asked for this to be pulled so that we'd have the opportunity to listen to. I find that I've had said this before, the planning reports are, to me, the most difficult to digest. And the comment in the report that said the number of changes that the department has to deal with takes away from daily operations. So I was hoping that we could just get a summary of this report and we can express our appreciation to the department for trying to fight delays. And well, they're not fighting. That's the purpose of these resolutions, fighting delays of moving on and building, but it's a delay in the mechanism of how to get it accomplished. So I welcome the opportunity to listen to a summary of their daily challenges.
Through you, Deputy Mayor Prost, thank you very much for that question, Councillor McDonald. So I can speak to the Planning Act changes, and then I will defer to the development charges changes to Alice. So there's three principal changes that we spoke to in the report, being ministerial decisions, as of right variances, and upper tier community improvement plans. The ministerial decisions are basically giving themselves more authority to make decisions that are not consistent with provincial policy. And, this doesn't really affect the municipality, and that doesn't affect our day-to-day operations, but we thought it prudent to advise council that the government now has the authority to make legislation and policy that are not consistent with their own policy. As of right variances, as of right now, a building permit application can be submitted and exceed lot variances, so like side yard setbacks, by up to 10% without the need to go through committee of adjustment. The government is introducing or has introduced regulation to expand that 10% to apply to things like height, lot coverage, and other standards that are typically written in a zoning bylaw. That regulation has not been issued, so we don't know what standards are going to be subject to this as of right variance. So it's still, as of today, it's still just lot standards, so setbacks. So we just look forward for the government to release that regulation, and we'll advise council when that occurs. And the third item was upper tier community improvement plans. Right now, only certain upper tier municipalities like Peel Region are prescribed to be able to create and implement upper tier community improvement plans, which are then supported by regional funding. The county of Simcoe is not one of those. Up until this change, was not one of those upper tier governments that could implement and fund community improvement plans. They now are, which we thought was a benefit because they have a lot more capacity than a municipality, so they can implement community improvement plans that we think would help. And then when we implement our own community improvement plans, we can stack those with other community improvement plans, such as the counties, or if there's any federal aid, specifically housing, that would all be beneficial to developers and affordable housing providers. And those are the three principal ones that we thought we should let council know about. And then I'll defer to Alice for development charges. Thank you.
Follow up.
Thank you. Through the Deputy Mayor to Councillor McDonald. So yes, the Bill 60 amended the DC Development Charges Act. And there are 5 principles that we wanted to bring to council's attention. The first being it introduced a new land acquisitions class of service. What that means is land acquisition needs to be established as a separate class of service. and has its own separate reserve funds, meaning that the municipality can recover the cost of purchasing land required for growth-related infrastructure. And the regulation was amended to require the land acquisition cost to be included in the development charge background study. And with respect to how the growth-related and non-growth-related share of costs are determined. There's no immediate requirement to witness these changes earlier until the next background study. The study usually updates between 5 to 10 years, and ours are only updated in 2025 last year. The second one that impacted by Bill 60, it also amended the timelines for the annual DC treasurer statements. Now that we need to complete it by June 30th and submit it to the minister by July 15th of each year. And the third that amends by Bill 60 is additions of requirement for local service policies. The town currently has local service policy included as part of the DC background study in Appendix D. This change requires projects to be identified in the background study and must be reviewed and approved by council if a revision is needed. And a copy of that also needs to be provided to the minister. This one do not have immediate impact to the town as well, because the town's local service policy generally compliant with the new provision of the DC Act. And the changes are more for how the requirement to be documented. Next that got impacted is the requirement to provide documents to the minister. And documents include the DC background study, DC bylaw, and the local service policy. They all need to be provided to the minister upon request. Again, this don't really impact the town because these documents are available on our website as part of the DC background study. And lastly, the legislative change require merging the water supply service and wastewater service for the purpose of credits. There's no impact to any current agreements, but if there's any future agreement that include credit arrangement for water and wastewater service, then the town will need to merge the credits and the developer would then get credits against future water and wastewater DC payments. Thank you.
Thank you. Do you have a follow-up, Councillor McDonald? I'm not even going to pretend I digested all of that, but some of it will surface again. Just a question in regards to provincial authority. I think I read someplace that the minister can approve decision not consistent with policy and it's retroactive. So does that mean that we can make a decision and the ministry can just say, whether it's consistent with our policy or their policy, they can just say that, no, you'll have to do it the other way?
Through you, Deputy Mayor, no, that is not correct. Only the minister has the right to make decisions that are not consistent with provincial policy and legislation. A municipal council is required to make decisions that are consistent with a provincial policy statement. So this change does not apply to council decisions, only the minister.
I guess that's a good thing. Thank you.
Mayor Gordon.
Thanks. Yeah, the only constant is change. I feel bad for the growth department because just when you get your mind wrapped around something, you bring updates to council, we codify them and tell developers what the changes are. Then we get another shake of the snow globe by the province. And a lot of times things are just announced as, this $8.8 billion fund, encouraging, nudge, nudge, wink, wink, municipalities to cut their DCs by up to 50% or forgo access to this $8.8 billion fund. So I was talking with the Premier on the weekend at an event I was at and communicated that, clearly Midland would be a willing partner in this because we can't afford to lose access to infrastructure money that would otherwise come from development charges. So, you know, we're being encouraged to drop by 50%. So that once this gets flushed out more and actually given a new bill number and some funky name, you know, expect another one of these reports from council and more updates from finance on what the impacts are of potentially dropping our DCs, which are already very competitive, as we know, because we just finished redoing them. If dropping them a further 50%, does it apply to hard servicing or the soft? You know, what happens to the, you know, if we push everything to the end to occupancy, which is an option already available to us, what happens if that development goes bankrupt and doesn't pay for occupancy? Whoever buys the place does, and now we're left sticking the bill to the person who just bought the new home for DCs that would normally be paid up front. So there's like so many questions, and I only had them for a few minutes for this thing I was at. And I just said, listen, I hope there's going to be good consultation on this, because otherwise you're painting us in a corner, and we already know how chronically underfunded all of our infrastructure is, thanks in part to the asset management planning, which was a great thing. Nobody can pretend they don't know how underfunded this stuff is anymore. And it would be lovely to be able to submit capital projects like a new fire hall, ambulance base, moving that water tower, more expansion of water, wastewater, submit these projects that are on a 10-year runway right now and maybe move them up to a 2 or 3 year one, because this thing's only for about 3 years, they're saying, and get some of this done, funded by this new taxpayer funded slush fund. So the only constant is change. If you feel confused, you're not alone. I mean, it is almost a full-time job for the professional staff to stay up to date on these things. So it is confusing for everybody. And the motivation, I get the motivation, but sometimes it feels like some of these are more sort of knee-jerk, especially when they just appear on a microphone without any regulation or hint of when it's coming. But we know it's coming. I get calls from our developers right now going, hey, Bill, when are we going to drop the DCs by 50%? And when's that happening? You know, it hasn't even come to council yet, hasn't even gone to the province yet. But the development community is clamoring to build because, you know, they're in stasis here. And there's jobs involved. There's local suppliers like the grand opening at Prime Fab that's happening this Friday that are going to rely on this growth that we expect to see in the next 2 to 4 years, partially aided by this funding that's a collaboration between the feds and the province. So I'm looking forward to all that, but what I'm not looking forward to is all this time and energy being spent by our planning team here, the small but mighty planning team, trying to wrap their minds around the snow globe that keeps getting shaken feels like every month. So to your point, Councilor McDonald, again, don't feel like you're not grasping this. It is complicated, and I'm not even sure I have a full grasp on it, and I'm pouring myself into it and talking to the people that are uttering these words, and even they're not 100% sure. So it's complicated, and growth is coming. We'll see most of it realizing next term. I just don't know how we're going to pay for this stuff. So stay tuned and expect more reports like this that'll make your eyes roll back in your head, as we'll try and get our learned planners to educate us on the only constant here, which is change. So my thoughts for what it's worth.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. Yeah, I just wanted to thank you for the report, as well as all the other planning reports that have come before this. Like Mayor Gordon said, there have been a lot of changes. So I feel like the province just has a random idea pot that they keep, pulling ideas out of. So unfortunately, that falls on to you and for you to update us. And like Mayor Gordon said, it's a full-time job. So I appreciate all the updates and how it affects us or doesn't affect us. And unfortunately, like most things this term, we've been at the whim of the Doug Ford government. So I hope that the changes are not as impactful as they seem like they will be, but time will tell. So I appreciate the update.
Okay, council, you've heard the motion for information. There's no further questions or comments. I'll call the motion. All in favor? That's carried. We're on to number 18, notices of motion. Do we have any notices of motion? Seeing none. Number 19, general announcements. Mayor Gordon.
Always count on me for one. Council, you will find on your desk a green ribbon. And that is for Children's Mental Health Week, which is May 4th to 10th. So we don't have another meeting, so I'm kind of preemptively announcing this, but please wear this green ribbon. And if anyone asks you, hey, what are you wearing this green ribbon for? It's for Children's Mental Health Week. There is a proclamation that goes along with it that just to give some context, and it's not a super long one, so I will read it for you quickly. And that's that whereas children's mental health is an essential part of overall health and well-being, influencing how children learn, grow, and develop, and whereas early intervention along with free and accessible support are critical in supporting children and youth, their families and caregivers with their mental wellness, and whereas Children's Mental Health Week is a time to raise awareness, reduce stigma, and highlight the importance of providing timely, fully funded, and accredited mental health services for children and youth across our communities. And whereas the color green symbolizes hope, growth, and well-being, and is worn throughout Children's Mental Health Week to show support for children and youth navigating their mental health. Therefore, it's the part where I have to insert my name, Bill Gordon, and I'm going to say the Council of the Town of Midland hereby proclaim May 4th to 10th, 2026 as Children's Mental Health Week in the Town of Midland, and encourage all residents to wear green, encourage in meaningful conversations, and take action to support the mental health and well-being of children, youth, and their families in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor Gordon. Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I just wanted to shout out to the She Leads event on Saturday this weekend, May 2nd. It's an amazing event run by a group of volunteers, all women. I've been glad to be a part of that volunteer committee this, I guess, cycle of the 2026 event. And it is run by amazing people as well as all of the volunteers that put the effort into these full day workshops of empowering women in our community, business owners, realtors, you name it, they are a part of this day. And I think it's a really important, empowering event for all of our community of women in Midland. So I'm really excited that that's a sold out event on Saturday. So sorry if you haven't got your ticket, but look out for that next year as well. And they do give a lot back to our community as well of any profits that they make. So I appreciate the support and I hope to see some people there on Saturday.
Councillor McDonald and then Councillor East.
Thank you. I'd like to share with you the success of the Midland Public Library operating their income tax clinic for low-income earners. I didn't get an update, but at the beginning of the week, there had been more than 350 intakes, and 250 of those intakes, the tax returns were completed. So kudos to the library in this program. It helped a lot of people that needed assistance with their tax returns. The other thing, this morning was the flag lowering for the National Day of Mourning, remembering those who lost their lives or were injured or became ill because of their work. So I think it's respectful to honor I don't know whether it's honor the day, but it recognize the day for those and remember them. And the last thing is some of us are going to be attending the OSAM conference, the Ontario Small Urban Municipalities Conference up in Parry Sound, and look forward to learning more as we move on. Thank you.
Councillor East.
Thank you, through Deputy Mayor. I just wanted to give a shout out to Tim Hortons and Councillor Patel and Mayor Gordon for decorating our smile cookies for Big Brothers, Big Sisters North Simcoe. I believe that runs to the end of Sunday. All the proceeds go toward supporting the Littles. Big Brothers and Big Sisters obviously is funded through charity events. So I encourage all of our dealerships and our mass manufacturing plants and maybe our small business owners to stop by Tim Hortons, pick up some cookies and spoil their employees while we're doing some real good for our littles.
Thank you. I have A motion on the floor, moved by Counselor Major, seconded by Counselor East, that the committee of the whole rise and report. All in favor? That's carried. Mayor Gordon.
Thank you very much, Deputy Mayor. Motion here moved by Councilor Meredith, seconded by Councilor Ball, that recommendations of the committee of the whole for the meeting of April 28th, 2026 be adopted as resolutions of council. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. All right, we are at motions for which notice was given, section 22. I have a motion here moved by Councilor Patel that needs a seconder. Seconded by Deputy Mayor Prost. The council authorized businesses registered under the town's patio program to place tables and chairs on the municipal sidewalk on a one-time basis during the Ontario's Best Butter Tart Festival on June 13th, 2026, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m., subject to any terms and conditions imposed by the town, and that bylaw staff be directed to investigate and assess the logistical requirements associated with this temporary permission, including but not limited to insurance and liability considerations, Fund Governor, accessibility requirements, operational impacts, and any necessary conditions or restrictions, and that staff report back to council with findings and recommendations at the regular council meeting of May 20th, 2026. Councilor Patel, did you want to speak to this all? You've been working on this with staff and the BIA.
Thank you, Worship. So the reason this has come up is because on our last council meeting, we adopted a bylaw preventing the restaurants from having their patio on the sidewalk. But the reason I'm bringing this forward is that doesn't mean they should not be allowed on the sidewalk itself where previously they were in a parking spot, because that's what the patio program is. Because the other businesses that are having their sidewalk sales, they're having tables and chairs. It's not an official patio, but it's a quasi patio. And these restaurants, they paid for the patios for the season, but we're penalizing them for, I guess, considering that they would be impeding on pedestrian movement. But I highly think that this would not be the case if they were to move on the sidewalk, just like the other businesses that would set up their patios, not patios, their tables and chairs, having their sidewalk sales. And I think the Butter Tart would continue to have the great success it's had in the past by just allowing a restaurant to have few tables and chairs, because at the end of the day, this is a food festival, and we're telling a restaurant or two or three that you cannot be part of this festival, even though it's food related, and we penalizing a business that specifically caters to this type of event. So I would request that staff would look into this and come back with something that we can all kind of agree on and find a solution so the restaurant business can continue being part of this fun activity. Thank you.
Thanks, Councillor. So is an unintended oversight that we're attempting to remedy now. Any other comments or questions? Are we good with the staff report? Councillor Meredith.
Thank you very much, and I would definitely agree with this motion. Thank you, Councillor Patel, for bringing it forward. I would just go ask to go one step further in this this ask, and I'm going to put it out there and see what council thinks. So at 5 o'clock on the Butter Tart, when the Butter Tart ends, the patios, you know, people may still be having dinner, and the patio might be used. I don't know. And we have a limit at 5 o'clock here. What I'm asking is for the patios that are, or the tables and chairs that are in front of these restaurants, and I think right now there's two. There could be more as you know, the event gets closer to the date. I'm not sure on that, but what I'm asking is for staff, you know, at 5 o'clock, the operations staff or Mitch's team to come and move those boulders in those areas where there's seats out back into the parking space, the perimeter of the parking space, so the tables and chairs can be shifted into the parking lot. so that they don't lose any additional revenue going into the night. So I believe we do have staff working that night, and to move a few or later after 5 to move a few of those bollards into their position, because they're going to stay there for the remainder of the summer. I believe they'd be now engaged in the patio program and having their permanent barriers up. So not sure what the appetite is for that, but I would like to throw that amendment in there.
The only challenge is this isn't the patio program. This is its own unique animal, and we already approved the patio program. So we'd have to get a motion to revisit if we're going to modify the patio program, even though I know it feels like it's the same thing. This was specifically crafted so we didn't have to do a motion to revisit.
Gotcha.
So,
okay, I'm not gonna press it. I just don't know how it's gonna work when, I guess the businesses will figure it out. They'll figure something out. So, but I would like to note, and I'm just, you know, next year going forward, and I'll make the comment now that these patios, and well in advance of the organizing the downtown, you know, Karen Mealing's team, Miss Mealing's team, about where the placement of these vendors are, that they work around our permanent patio structures so that they don't have to go through this. So instead of our businesses having to suffer and rejig their patio, that the patios with enough time given to the Karen Mealing's team, that they can assess that there's a patio going to be here in a certain location, and the BIA will, through Councillor Patel, it'll be expressly, you know, given notice to the BIA to have these patios, and whoever wants to put a patio in the restaurants out, that they have their application in very early before the diagram or the where the tents are set up for butter tart are in place, and therefore we can work around that. So our businesses shouldn't have to work around the butter tart festival. The vendors should have to work around our businesses. Thank you.
Councillor Ball.
Thank you. I am glad to see this come back, because this is exactly what I was fighting for at our last meeting. I'm a little frustrated that we didn't entertain this at all last meeting, and that this solution couldn't have been, you know, entertained then when I was bringing it up. But I do appreciate that it's come back, and I guess that people have seen the light that we should be supporting our small businesses and allowing them to still have patio tables. So I appreciate you bringing this forward, Mr. Patel. Hopefully we can get this hammered out the first time next time, though.
Yeah, it's always a live and learn every year with the Butter Tart Festival as it grows. I think we'll ever stop talking about it. So hopefully we don't, because that means we don't have a Butter Tart Festival. So we'll just keep trying to make it better and better. And it's good to have, of course, the BIA on board, which is why Councillor Patel had to go back to discuss this with them, because they speak on behalf of all their residents, whereas we tend to get phone calls and emails from members of BIA, and we should be, as I try and do, redirect them back through the BIA and the board, because that's who represents you, rather than dealing with the one-offs. So, and they've largely been willing to do that, and we can see the results. Here it is. So it's pretty plain, clear. Everybody good with this? Go to call the question. All right, all those in favor? Any opposed? Carried unanimously. All right, well, we're pretty much at the end here. Moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Meredith. The following bylaws: Bylaw 2026-24, regulate parking within the town of Midland, and to repeal Bylaw 2025-7, and Bylaw 2026-25, amend Bylaw 2025-72 as amended, being a bylaw to establish and approve the fees and charges of the town of Midland, be passed and enacted. This wraps up our conversation today. All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. And moved by Deputy Mayor Pro, seconded by Councillor Ball, that bylaw 2026-26, being a bylaw to adopt the proceedings of this regular council meeting with closed session held on April 28th, 2026, be passed and enacted. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And last but not least, moved by Councillor Patel, seconded by Councillor Major, that this regular meeting of council with closed session adjourn at 4:25 p.m. All those in favor? It is adjourned. Thank you, everybody.